Hey, what is up, everyone? This is Marvin, founder of the Scholars of Success podcast. And here we have another dope friend of mine from the shout out Tacoma Connect crew. You know who you are. We got my friend Ty from TriumFit. Welcome, bro.
Of course.
We also have another special guest.
Look at this. Who is this?
Who is this? Let's actually dive into that. So tell us the story about your friend.
Bandit. That is Bandit. Okay. Well, this was a segment on my Instagram. That is right. Yeah, you mentioned it, TriumFit. So it's TriumFit Challenge. It's a play on the word Triumphant Fitness Challenge. I just shortened it. And this was something that I was doing for a burpee challenge where I was tagging celebrities. I was trying to make this like ice bucket challenge, you know, the viral meme, whatever, 10 years ago in 2015 or something. And I would do burpee poker. So I'd have a deck of cards, I'd shuffle them on camera, I would draw 5 cards, and that would be the amount of burpees I had to do in 60 seconds, or I had to donate to givedirectly.org, the difference. And Bandit was my, supportive burpee poker, emotional support burpee bear during that whole endeavor. So I did about 12 weeks of that off and on, tagging, like I said, like 10 different, influencers and fitness influencers and all different kinds of people to see if they would, repost it, all that kind of stuff. Right. It went nowhere. Bandit stuck around. And then I shelved him for a bit and I was like, what else can I do with Bandit? And I've been doing a sprint challenge every day for the last 300 days. And so then I made this whole thing about Bandit trying out for the sprint team. And so now he accompanies me every 10 days. I film it with my sprints on a treadmill or overground or something like that. So he's now running with me. So he's getting put to good use. So that's my boy. He's my agent, my emotional support burpee bear, and my sprint team member.
Yes. Officially, Bandit is now part of the Scholars of Success fam.
100%.
But yeah, man, first off, I'm excited. We've been talking about this for a minute. And again, shout out to Tacoma Connect for having the ability to have us meet, being in an incredible room of networking, entrepreneurs, creatives, people who are passionate about what they do. And so I want to take it all the way back, bro, because it's an opportunity to highlight you and share your story out. Because like we chatted about before, it's hard to convey all this in one conversation, scaled out with 15, 20, 30, 40, last time 100 people. Right. So it's like, this is a way to, as our friends say, the shameless plug, being able to share your story and share about yourself. Where did this all start? Where were you born and raised? Let's start there.
Born and raised in Santa Monica, California. So always been a West Coast kid, beach kid. I did go to University of Denver for 4 years studying biology. And then I went to San Diego State to pursue my doctorate in physical therapies. Currently, I work for the military as a physical therapist, a civilian contractor with the Air National Guard, Camp Murray, just west of JBLM. But yeah, if you're taking it all the way back, born in Santa Monica, and I've been fortunate to be in the same house my entire life. So my parents got that house in the 80s. I was raised in the early 90s, and we still have that house, which is great. And obviously, it's blown up. It's real expensive now. But we were able to kind of just have a very stable childhood. It was me and my older brother that I grew up with. He's 3 years older. Okay. So we were real close and very competitive in sports and everything growing up. I was a big ice hockey player, did some high school wrestling as well. That's what got me interested in jiu-jitsu now that I do. So big athletics, obviously that was a big thing. And because of that, when I was 18 at a tryout is when I got injured and dislocated my shoulder. And so that's what sent me on the path towards physical therapy that I'm on now. My whole family has been in healthcare. Dad was a firefighter, paramedic for 38 years. Mom was a nurse for 30 years at UCLA. Older half-sister's an athletic trainer. Older brother's a sports med doc at Kaiser in Santa Rosa today. Only one in my family that wasn't is my younger half-sister, Vanessa. She's the only one that didn't do some kind of medical field. But that made a big impact on who I am and why I do what I do now, and how that I could talk about how that morphed into TriumFit in a second here. But yeah, Santa Monica, Denver, Idaho, I lived there for 2 years out of high school playing junior ice hockey. So I've bounced around a little bit. I've seen most of the ice hockey rinks in all the 50 states at this point, just from travel hockey. So I know where those are at least.
What position did you play in hockey?
I was a defenseman. So my brother was the flashy, forward or centerman. So he was the guy that would take the face-offs. And I was the defenseman. So I would do everything I could to, disrupt the flow of play and just hit guys. And I was very physical. And I like just frustrating people. It was my biggest thing. So I was a little bit bigger than my brother. So he was, he's about 5'9". I'm just under 6 foot. So I just kind of naturally fell into that role. And I really liked it. I actually played goalie when I was in roller hockey. Ooh. And then as soon as I switched to ice and they started taking slap shots, I was like, nah, I'm done with that. I'm not trying to block those shots, which was actually dumb because the goalies have the most pads. And I've broken my hand, I've broken my foot, my collarbone, and from blocking shots and things. And so if I was a goalie, I'd probably have a lot less injuries. But here I am.
Shout out to the goalies out there.
Yeah.
And again, thank you so much for inviting us into your space. You're probably wondering where we are.
Yeah.
We're in the garage, aka the jiu-jitsu room, this room, etc. Just to wind it back a little further. You mentioned physical therapy, and that's what you're doing. Was there like a specific moment you remember? Because you said you dislocated multiple parts of your body, but was there a specific moment like, dang, this is actually what I want to do? Because I feel like some people have that moment, and then some people it's more of an accumulation of, okay, I'm leaning more towards this direction.
Sure, that's a good point. Yeah, I would say the spark was when I had to do rehab for my shoulder. I was about 18, so pretty malleable age. At that time, I was going into college or starting to kind of go down that path and thinking about what I wanted to study. And I just had a really good physical therapist. I still remember his name, Edwin Tanico. No idea if he still practices or where in the world he is. I was his patient when I was in Santa Monica. This was back home. And so in the summer before heading out to Idaho to play for junior ice hockey, I was under his care. He just had this like photographic memory of human anatomy, physiology. He had this high education. He seemed like a really chill guy. And the amount of time that you get to spend with the patients is really cool in physical therapy versus, unfortunately, the common practice we see in medicine is, if you go in to see a physician, it's 5-10 minutes max, and then you're out, right? And they just are prescribing medicine. And as a physical therapist, you get to prescribe movement and have a little bit more independence and holistic touch with the patients. So I think that's a little bit more geared towards my skill set and my personality. But I would say it was when I was about 18, that injury and that recovery under, it was at Forrester Physical Therapy in Santa Monica with Edwin Tanico as my therapist that really made me kind of think this is a really cool career field. Like I said, my oldest half sister is athletic trainer, Carrie. And so she works closely with physical therapists as well. The recovery from injuries. She works with the football team, Glendale High School. So that was cool. I think, again, that's a mixed bag. I didn't like physical therapy right out of school for a lot of reasons, right? You get kind of locked into the rut, and there's a lot of patient mills that you can work at where you're just seeing 15, 18 patients a day. It's kind of monotonous. But I've been extremely lucky to work with the Air National Guard where I am now because it's just the work-life balance is insane, and there's so much more time that I could spend with myself working out and just diversity of people that I get to work with, and the strength coaches are really knowledgeable. So I've really lucked into an amazing role where I am now. Most clinics, I would say, sadly, like I said, is just a very kind of patient mill. You're in and out, and even therapy has gone that way too. So it's tough for a lot of therapists out there, but I have great work-life balance now, and it's kind of been one of those things where like I see the light at the end of the tunnel, which is amazing.
That's cool. And, I've certainly felt that. Like, I've been at a few physical therapist places, and some are more even geared towards like an hour less, and you're out.
Sure.
I'm really like, they're helping you to relieve the pain, but not for long term. It's very much a short term relief. And so it's reassuring to hear that, like, hey, we're actually looking at long term, like, pain relief for you.
Yeah.
What would you say is the most like common, I would say like the common injury in physical therapy, but what are some things like, hey, I've seen this more often than not?
Definitely low back pain. I would say that is the plague of maybe the multiple generations, Generation X, Gen Z, whatever, and millennials as well. Just because we are seeing this big influx of people being sedentary and working office jobs and everything, and there's a correlation with sedentarism and low back pain. So I'd say that's the thing I see most. The people that I work with are all well past basic training in the military. So these are guys that are in their late 30s, 40s, 50s. And so these are full-timers, basically active guards. And so a lot of them are essentially working desk jobs. You think military is always, a hard charging kind of job, but it depends. It really depends what you're doing in the military. The TACPs that I get to work with as well, tactical air control party guys, do a lot of, high flying drills and jump out of planes and stuff. So those guys will have different injuries typically than your average military member. If I had to take it all in one kind of lump sum, it would be mostly low back pain. The good thing about that is there's a lot of ways you could tackle it. You can do everything from Pilates based exercises to movement retraining and deadlifting. I like getting patients back to those movements because a lot of people fear squatting again and deadlifting again. And these are kind of like the functional things that really every human needs to do. So as long as you're progressing appropriately, there's no reason you can't get back to doing those things, even if you've had an issue with that in the past, which is always nice to see, like, that patient have that confidence to do that again in their routine. But that's what I get, the biggest benefit out of it, just seeing patients return to their function and daily living and having less pain. So it can be a long process, and you got to really kind of trust that process, like I said, because it can take, 2, 3, 4, 5 months even. But I think it's so much better than just popping a pill and thinking that it's going to go away, because usually that's not the best route.
Yeah. And there's also the thing too, is like, even if you take a pill, right, is it going to give you, it's like short-term relief. What does it do in the long term? It can cause, maybe some sort of addiction or some sort of like reliance on medication, when also like your body just needs to relearn how to move again, or get like, confident in your movements again. We'll talk on this now, because, so we talked about TriumFit, and then we want to talk about like the origin story of that. But again, when did that start for you? When did TriumFit come together for you?
Yeah, 100%. I've always been interested in fitness from a young age. I grew up playing ice hockey. Roller hockey was actually more common in California, and Southern California, where I grew up, and I transitioned to ice when I was about 9. So I've always been interested in movement and, having a diverse skill set in that regard. And specifically with TriumFit, it came out of actually a lot of pain and misery, because I've always, like I said, been interested in pushing my limits and finding what that is for me. I've always been curious ever since a podcast, funny enough, a show called Radiolab. They did a whole section on limits. That was the title of the episode. And it was about a lot of different things, but about the human physiology and how far we can go. And it was about, somebody that entered an Ironman triathlon without training, and they almost, got on the podium. And it was just a really interesting story. And so I've always been fascinated. That was back in maybe 2012, in my own journey of like pursuing these different things, marathons and Ironmans and, doing handstands or whatever it might be, doing ultra marathons. So I've always kind of had that, like, I want to do these bigger, badder projects, so to speak. But it was in 2023 when that kind of came to bite me, because I was trying to do this hybrid training type of combination of a performance standard, where you're doing a certain squat and a certain, it was a 1 mile time trial that I was trying to do at the same time, hitting a sub 5-minute mile and a 315-pound front squat in the same day.
Ooh.
Hybrid training is becoming popular now. It's basically like people that run and lift. You kind of do all the sports, right? It used to be you specialize in just running, I'm a runner, or you lift and you're just a power lifter. But hybrid training, popularized by Nick Bare and these guys with these fitness profiles, is about kind of combining everything. And so I think it is really cool, because that, in my opinion, is a little bit more exciting for me to train in these multiple disciplines, right? And so that was in the fall of 2023, and I was trying to pursue this goal of, like I said, the sub 5-minute mile and the 315-pound squat. And it just took so much of my life effort, and I was losing out, I think, in other spheres of my life in terms of health and relationships, even because I was overtraining or neglecting, relationships and friendships and that aspect of things. And so I was so dedicated to this goal, right, to do this. And I had a lot of fitness burnout. That's something that we don't always talk about, and the kind of low spell that happens, or like even period of like low mood, depression kind of thing, when you even get to the pinnacle of success. Like after my Ironman, I was so happy, right, to get there. And then maybe 3 or 4 weeks later, I was right in this like negative spiral, like, okay, what's next? And like, it just, you never really arrive at that thing. And so pursuing these random bucket list items of physical things to check off just led me so far in my journey. And then the origin of TriumFit was really just getting curious about, is there something I could be doing that would be a longer legacy that could outlive me, right, than just what is my mile time? And so, end of 2023, I was experiencing all this burnout. And like I said, I work for the military, so I get all the federal holidays off. And so my 2024 goal was just to get curious about, what are all these federal holidays for? Somebody had to sacrifice a hell of a lot. Somebody had to die to get you that day of rest for you to just go, a pina colada on the beach, right? And so I was like, well, what's the actual origin story of, Martin Luther King Jr. and Cesar Chavez and Memorial Day and Juneteenth and all of these things that we get this time for? And so in my, typical fashion, I wanted to do a way to honor the past through some kind of fitness challenge, because I'm always driven that way. So it's fitness related, some kind of historical challenge based on the day of that we're commemorating with the holiday, and then a philanthropic or a way to give back as well. Because in my opinion, I think we're so privileged to live in the United States. when you think about, standard of living and all these things, that we should make fitness about less than just ourselves, but how we can benefit the community as well. And so in 2024, that started with, these 7 challenges that I was doing and that I'm going to continue to do for indefinite future, about looking at something that person did. So Martin Luther King, he marched 54 miles from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama in 1965 for the Voting Rights Act to help get the African American to be able to legally vote in the United States. He did that over 5 days. And so in TriumFit fashion, I do a 54-mile run walk, and I do it in 54 hours. And that's the gold division challenge. The silver division challenge is a 54-mile bike ride in 5.4 hours. Initially in 2024, I was doing all the gold division. I didn't know they were the gold division. I just did these really hard challenges, and my wife's like, you should scale those back in case other people want to do these with you, right? At some point. So I do have a silver division, which is slightly easier for all these now. And then I donated to the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which he was a co-president of in his lifetime. So that's just one example of one thing that I've done. I do, like I said, a challenge for Cesar Chavez for Memorial Day, Juneteenth, 4th of July, September 11th coming up next, and then Veterans Day in November. And so it's my way of essentially being like, well, when I die, what is my life going to have lived up to, right? Sure. Is anyone really going to give a shit about my mile time when I'm dead? Probably not. No, low chance, right? Low chance. So this is my way of having some kind of movement that I can get really excited and passionate about, that can outlive me, and that I can hopefully get, thousands of people to do one day. That's going to be more important than just what I could physically accomplish personally, and make it more about the community. Doing hard things together, I think, is really important for our mental health, social health. And I've been really trying to plug in, like through Tacoma Connect, like Marvin was talking about making fitness more about the community than less about just myself. Every other Sunday, and in Tacoma, Washington, I'd have these like TriumFit and Chill TFC workouts. They're mostly just recovery, stretching, and hanging out and social hour, but I do them at Wright Park, so that's what I do twice a month. Yeah.
Touched on a lot of things. Legacy is a big one. What are you leaving for the people coming up, not just what you're getting? Because I think in life we're so quick to get, then we don't stop and say, hey, like all this stuff around me, I'm blessed to have. Like you had mentioned, no one's going to give a shit about your mile time. Yeah. Like, if I'm being honest, the only person going to give a shit about it is you, because you're focusing on it. Yep. Which is not a bad thing. It's just it's factual. At the end of the day, we want to look at the mirror and be confident, but also like, how can I also inspire other people? Mm-hmm. Inspiring other people is one of the best things you can do when you're talking about community. And so not pushing people, because I think that's going to make people...
Yeah, runs the wrong way. That's a fine line you have to walk. You have to know the person, the psychology of the person you're with. That's why coaching is really interesting, because you have to know how to plug into 20 different players' psychology, right? Of like what's going to motivate them, right? So it is really interesting, like you said. But keep going.
And so when you're talking about, TriumFit and where it started, I think that was really cool as well, because again, I feel like when somewhere in like the 20s, for any person who has that aspiration to be better than where they were, they get that like heavy season where they're just like, it sucks right now. But usually from that place comes something very beautiful. I've experienced that myself, and even the podcast was very similar. Yeah. It came out because I'm like, I always wanted to do a podcast, and shout out to many different people like Joe Rogan, who made a lot of money doing podcasts. I'm like, hey, you're just in front of a mic, talking to people, sharing your stories. Why the fuck can I do that?
Right.
And so just back to your story, so, the holidays, being able to not just understand the history of it, but again, taking time in your personal life today to honor it, to commemorate it. You mentioned Martin Luther King, you mentioned Cesar Chavez. Yep. Is there like a personal relation to that? I didn't even ask what your ethnic background is.
Yeah, for sure. We'll go into that. Yeah, I think, my background actually is I'm biracial. So my dad is black, my mom is white. And I have done the 23andMe because I am the most racially ambiguous human out there. But my dad he's like 64%. So I'm 30-ish% African American, mostly West African. And from my mom's side, I'm about 68% British, French, German, all that kind of mixed in, and then 2% others. Biracial, black dad, white mom, and that's always been an interesting subject too, like the racial identity aspect. And growing up, my best friend was Tate Tucker. He's mixed like me, more African American presenting than myself. I'm more light skinned, but he was my best friend until I went to a different middle school. And then, I did, like, for whatever reason, gravitate towards more white sports than black sports. So I was always on the hockey team, which is predominantly white, or wrestling. And the hockey thing is interesting because my dad got me into that. And he got into it, of all things, because he went to a game when he was about 12 years old. His dad took him to a game. It was the LA Blades minor league team. And on that team was this guy, Willie O'Ree. And he went on to become essentially the Jackie Robinson of the NHL, the first black player. He was actually Canadian, so Canadian black player in the NHL. And he went to play on the Boston Bruins. And so my dad saw him when he was about 11, 12, very kind of formative age. And then when my dad became an adult, he actually wanted to play adult hockey. And so when he was not at the fire station, he, bought pads and he went and played at the Culver City ice hockey rink. And so then he had 2 boys, my older brother and myself, and I wanted to do everything my brother Ryan was doing. And so he got started in hockey, and then I was competitive with him, and so I got started in it as well. And so that's how he got involved in it, because of Willie O'Ree. And then the Kings got a franchise in the 60s as well. So that's the tie-in to hockey. But yeah, so say like a lot of my friends were, white or mixed or whatever. So I've always been in like different crews, and the Tacoma Connect crew is very diverse, which I appreciate. I think it's awesome. But yeah, so that tie-in, I guess, makes Juneteenth and Martin Luther King more important in some ways for me. And then September 11th is a really important one for me because my dad is a firefighter for 38 years. So there are these tie-ins that make these things really important. Veterans Day is important because I work for the military, for International Guards. That one's a big day. And it's embarrassing, but I didn't realize the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day until I started working at the Air National Guard. And Veterans Day is more to commemorate the active duty, people that are actually, or retired, but are still alive, right? The people that have served and that are still around. You go say something nice to a veteran, thank you for your service. Memorial Day is obviously for the people that have lost their lives in wars throughout times. That's the distinction that I had to learn. All of these dates actually are pretty important to me, and I think it's great to see different people gravitate towards the different challenges. If farm workers' justice and immigrant rights is more important to you, and you want to jump in and do my Cesar Chavez Day challenge, and that's amazing too. You don't have to be a certain race to do these challenges. I'm just trying to provide the platform to do something hard together for every race and to kind of honor that throughout the calendar year. In August that we just had, I had a Women's Equality Day, which is something that I found on August 26th is Women's Equality Day, and it's to honor the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. And so I did a kettlebell challenge for that. I called it suffrage swings. I did 19 rounds of 20 kettlebell swings. And so again, I'm just trying to TriumFit is like a way to encourage people to move through purposeful historic legacies. And it's a combination of history, fitness, philanthropy, community. That's what TriumFit stands for. The slogan is give back, never give up. And so kind of honoring these reasons that we get these days of rest off, and how can we think about the past in a new way, and what would Martin Luther King want us to do today? He'd probably want us to get together and march for something that matters, and to give back to something that he believed in, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. That's what I want TriumFit to become, and it's going to become so much bigger. I feel like it's going to take 10, 20 years to get where I want it to be, but it's going to be doing things like this with my buddy Marvin and plugging in the community and podcasting and getting uncomfortable, putting on that entrepreneur hat and trying to sell yourself. I think sales is probably the most important thing we could all learn, because we're always selling ourselves. Even if you don't have a product, you are a product, essentially. Sounds weird to say that, but I work in fitness, and so my business or my body is my business card. That's the first thing they see. If I say I'm a fitness accountability coach, which is a separate thing I do with TriumFit, the Champions League, they're going to look at me and say, well, what have you done physically, right? What's your rap sheet, or how do you take care of your own body, right? We're always getting judged better or worse, because of it, and so I feel like I do have to live up to a certain standard for better or worse, but I find great benefit in staying healthy and moving and all these things. So I don't get too stressed about it now that I have this bigger purpose behind what I'm doing. And it's just been a great process so far. 2025 is really the first year of full out TriumFit, in the community. All 2024 is just me and myself, grinding, doing these things alone and then posting it randomly. 2025 is the year I'm trying to get this out to a larger audience. So it's been awesome.
Cool. Well, I'm glad to bring it. At the end of the day, that's the cool thing about community. Is that when you actually have a strong community that connects with you, we're going to rise together. We're not just one person's elevated. We're all growing together. And so I want to talk about Tacoma Connect, because especially from that community. What was your first Tacoma Connect experience like? And what does Tacoma Connect mean to you? Let's go that route.
Let's go. The first one I went to, this might have been February. This was fairly early this year. I had met Asaph at a open mic poetry event at Intentions Juice Bar. Shout out to them. They do open mics Connect every third Wednesday of the month on South Tacoma Way. And so I met ASAP there one night, and then he's like, dude, I have this new networking event called Tacoma Connect. And I was like, that's perfect, man. That's exactly what I need to do. I need to learn how to pitch my business. I just started this whole thing in a proper way this year. So it must have been in February, I think, or March at the latest. But the first thing I remember meeting guys like AJ, and his brother TJ was there early on one time too. And just seeing everybody's like visions. Everyone just had these lofty, dreams that like made mine feel tiny in comparison. And I was like, wow, like TJ's brothers or AJ's brothers trying to become like the mayor of like Washington and all this stuff. And just really cool guys. And it was good to see that like level of ambition in the community. And I was really struck by that when I first got out there. And again, it's kind of one of those things where you just bumble over your pitch because every time you go, there's a 2-minute pitch around the table that you have to give about your business and what you're passionate about. And, you're trying to figure out what that angle is going to be every time you bring. I didn't have business cards. I didn't have flyers. I didn't have anything when I first got there. I was like, what is happening? And then I got on Canva. I learned how to use Canva and get on business cards. So it's kind of an iterative process. And that's really what I'm learning about TriumFit is like start messy, but just get it done, right? Imperfect is better than perfectly not done at all, right? Just like start messy and get it going, get the ball rolling, and you'll figure it out as you go. So that's definitely what I've learned. But what was the other part of it? Tacoma Connect.
What does Tacoma Connect
mean to me? Yeah. I mean, first of all, ASAP needs to start charging for that because I think it's such a hot product in the city. I think what he's doing is amazing. I'm shocked that it's free to roll up, and like the amount of performances they put on week after week. It's just so amazing that we have that ASAP and Ange just put that on, and Lisa as well. So I think to me, it's just I just see so much talent. It's just I'm really baffled by the talent that performs there, the people that are doing these awesome things in the community. It's just a humbling experience to go. So to me, Tacoma Connect, I think, yeah, badass talent. That's like the first thing I think of. I think of everyone that's performed and the artists and people doing awesome things. Underrated for sure. If you haven't been to one, it's great every single time. They're just growing, and it's going to go in a great direction. I can already tell.
Yeah, and the Tacoma Connect always has a special place in my heart. I have heard a few people say the exact same thoughts from me. It's like I walk into this room, it's like, where has this room been? And the fact that they feel like welcomed and at home. And this is a room where people can network, and we're not ashamed to say what we're doing and why we're about it. Even people are trying to figure that out. This is a room to gain confidence in. So again, shout out to ASAP, shout out to Ange, shout out to Lanisa, and all the Tacoma Connect Council crew putting it all together. So I want to pivot really quickly because I walked through the place and I saw the fancy medals, so you mentioned you did wrestling and then you scaled into jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
Do you favor jiu-jitsu more now, knowing that it's pretty much the same but different, or do you still favor wrestling if you had to pick between the two? But they're both kind of similar to each other,
Right. You know what? I was just talking to my buddy Darnell about this because we've been doing the same thing. Like we both started at Alliance in Lakewood here doing jiu-jitsu, and then we've been doing adult wrestling recently and Fitness Quest the last maybe 8-9 months, and we're both like, yo, is wrestling more fun than jiu-jitsu? Like we think it is because like my body's not as beat up when I go through wrestling for whatever reason than jiu-jitsu, because jiu-jitsu is a lot of grip fighting, a lot of you can get your joints torqued, arm bars and all these things that don't feel great. So in a weird way, I like, what I like the most? I like no-gi jiu-jitsu the most.
Yeah,
it would be no-gi jiu-jitsu and then wrestling and then gi jiu-jitsu. I just do the gi because you got to traditionally do it to promote what you want to do, and I want to get to a purple belt. I'm a blue belt now, so to get to a purple belt, you got to do the gi. You got to get the kimono on. You got to sweat hard and do all these things. But the most fun thing, because it's more athletic to me, is the no-gi jiu-jitsu, because it's submissions, but it's kind of like wrestling in a lot of ways too.
Right.
And but wrestling is fun. I mean, shout out to Tristan and Andrew at Fitness Quest. They are amazing coaches there, and they're just insane. And it's really fun. It's something that I haven't done, like I said, since sophomore year of high school. So to put the shoes on, I almost did a tournament this year, but I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. I don't want to put a singlet back on. That's too crazy. I'm on PTSD flashbacks of high school, right? But I have competed in some jiu-jitsu tournaments, and I've been fortunate enough to put in some work and get some medals. But that's a great question. I think it would be no-gi wrestling, and then gi jiu-jitsu. But
Okay.
honestly, the people that are, training in there, the coaches and all that, professors, are all just amazing people. Like the most humble dudes ever are always the scariest killers, right? So if you see anybody with cauliflower ears, just don't talk to them at a bar. Like, don't get on the bad side, right?
You should get him a drink.
To get him a drink. That's right.
Thank you.
Be nice to them. But yeah, they're all so humble, and it's just I did it initially as a way to meet people in Washington when I got out here in January 2023. In April of that year is when I joined a jiu-jitsu gym, because a lot of guys on base that I work with do combatives and do some training as well. So I wanted a way to talk to the guys and understand how they operate as well. And a lot of that, you could build such an intricate bonds when you're, they call jiu-jitsu kind of gay for a reason, because you're just all up in each other's business, right? You're sweating hard and like you're in these weird positions. But yeah, the friendship you build is really cool, and it's something that I wouldn't trade for anything. So it's been a great transition to have that one-on-one sport. Transitioning out of the ice hockey, I finally hung it up in 2019, was my last season, because it was a tough year. It was a tough year. All my gear got stolen the very last year, and we fumbled in the playoffs, and it was just it was a mess the way that ended. But it's been a good transition out of that, I guess, and sad as it was to do now some jiu-jitsu. So.
Wait, what team did you pick for?
Yeah, I played in grad school as well. So I played club hockey at University of Denver 4 years, and then I played in grad school club hockey at San Diego State as well.
What initially drew you to jiu-jitsu? Because obviously, again, there's a lot of similarities between wrestling and jiu-jitsu. So you had a pretty strong foundation already from there. Because, I think people get this conception about martial arts that there's just this one guy who runs the dojo, not the sensei, but the person who's just like, I'm here to mess everyone up and have them be like their meat bag, right? And that's the term. But what is it actually like? Because I think that's a preconceived notion that people think of, especially when they think of like taekwondo or maybe martial arts like that.
Yeah, initially what got me into it, again, was trying to just meet people in the Washington area and connect with people that I worked with through combatives and having that background. I think it's really important. Again, I'm a big fan of hybrid athlete training and fitness, which is, again, combining running, lifting, and a lot of people don't do this, but I think combatives should be in that hybrid training model as well. I think, especially for men, right, we should always have, it's just such in our blood kind of thing. Like we do the Tacoma Fight Club now at Wright Park. We get some boxing gloves. Yeah, shout out to AWAX and Wax and all the guys there that do it. ASAP that teaches us. And I think there's something very primal about one-on-one combat fighting and all that. Even just for like play fighting. Like you see this across many species, right? You see chimpanzees just play fighting and dogs play fighting. All these things of whatever. Maybe it's a dominance hierarchy kind of thing, or it's just a way to blow off steam and all these things. I got interested in it to make new friends in this area when I got out here initially, and then I've always had that interest in being able to protect myself, self-defense, and getting back on the mat and having that kind of one-on-one combatives, and just it's a mindset shift, especially when you go to a tournament like the Revolution and you see everybody else that's been training for these things, and it's like, is he going to choke me out? I'm like, am I going to get embarrassed in front of all these people? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. And he's training at a different gym than me. I've never gone with this guy before and rolled with him, so no one knows what's going to happen and how your styles match up and mix up and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of curiosity in terms of it's like human physical chess is what a lot of people relate jiu-jitsu to, as it's like a constant learning situation where you're pulling one move and then they counter it and then you're countering the counter and then you're setting things up, and it's a very fascinating sport. And I think jiu-jitsu is probably the most practical outside of wrestling, right? Probably the two most practical. Striking, Muay Thai would be close second or third and fourth maybe. But yeah, if you have some solid ground game, the mental toughness that I learned in wrestling on the mats is something I can never take away from me now. It's largely why I could do an Ironman is because of the wrestling room when I was 14. It was just how hard I could push myself. But there's so many good reasons to get into it. But I think running, the way I boil it down, the quote that I made myself is lift to look good, I run to feel good, and I fight to become good. In the sense that lifting will get you aesthetically sculpted, right? You can be, thin, but you can be skinny fat, or you can just not really look your best if you're not lifting at all and doing any resistance training. There's so many benefits now, especially for older individuals, to do these, resistance training regularly, prevent falls, prevent hip fractures, all these things. I would know as a physical therapist for sure. As people get older, they get frail and then they get less independent. Right. Resistance training kind of makes you look cut, makes you look beach ready. Running makes me feel good in the sense that that's where I release all of my, like there's a huge endorphin run. You call it the runner's high, obviously, for a reason. I don't get that from long distance as much as I get it from like a hard track workout. Like today we had a track Tuesday where you're doing 1,200 meter repeats and short rest intervals and just that like VO2 max training and that cardio output you do. I just feel like I'm on a different plane of existence when I've had a really hard workout, for sure, like in terms of like a cardio, getting the blood pumping, lymphatic fluids going everywhere. It's all crazy. So that's why I run to feel good. It makes my, other sports great because if I'm known for anything on the jiu-jitsu mats is that I can go forever. I never fatigue. I never get tired. And that's largely because of running, the running background. And then I fight to become good in the sense that fighting actually humbles me in a lot of ways because you're constantly getting beat by somebody that's better than you. The purple belt, the brown belt, what you call the mat enforcers, what you call the people that go in and try to beat people up is the meat bags. We call them the mat enforcer. And usually we use those guys if somebody's coming into a new gym and they just start beating up people and they're doing aggressive submissions and that kind of stuff. Every gym has a mat enforcer. They go, it's like the 200-pound brown belt. They go have somebody take care of that person essentially, right? So I fight, do the combatives and stuff because again, it humbles me. I learn about myself, what it takes to compete at a certain level. And so it just makes me a better human to get humbled regularly and to see that, you're really not the most badass person on the block, right? But hopefully one day you can beat yourself enough and get to the point where like you have that confidence and self-reliance where you're a different person because of it. So I think those three disciplines, right, are so important for a holistic fitness that I'm after.
Yeah, no, I think I'd have to agree with that only because it's when you look at like fighting combat sports, it encompasses both the running and then the weight training. Yeah. Because you could be as light as you want, but if your hits don't hit hard, then it's kind of a downer. But if you're really strong, but then you don't have the endurance to last more than like a round, then you're going to lose to your opponent. So a holistic version, that's how I'm thinking of it. Let's go this way. So we've talked about martial arts. We've talked about, where you grew up. What is something that a lot of people don't know about you? As I mentioned, like this is an opportunity to showcase Ty. But actually, we talked about this a little bit, but poetry.
Yes.
So poetry. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Let's talk about poetry. How long have you been either writing poetry or how long have you been actually performing the? Because I know when we met first at the Juneteenth event, and that was when we walked at Chambers Bay. Right. Ever since I'm over here in Tacoma, I'm like, that's my favorite place to walk. So tell me more about the poetry journey experience for you.
Yeah, there was two ways I could answer that. The first way I thought most people don't know about Tyler is that I'm biracial. My dad is black, my mom is white, right? So that's always like the first thing, my racial background. Most people can't really guess, I guess. So that's always an interesting one, my background there. And then the other thing, like you mentioned, is creative writing and spoken word poetry, something that I've done since undergrad, University of Denver. So since 2012, I've been writing and performing. I got into it because my first year seminar group that I worked with, or a class with, my first kind of a friend group in undergrad that I really bonded with was, again, a really diverse group of people. The class we were in was race, politics, and the future of, American history kind of thing. So it was a very diverse just group of people. One of them, Jordan, she had done some creative writing in high school. And so she took us all to a slam poetry event in Denver. And I still remember some of these poems that I got to hear. Slam poetry is like performance poetry, but there's like a competition essentially where like you have 3 rounds of 3-minute poems. They pick winners, all that kind of stuff. And so I went to this thing called Slam Nuba in Denver. And I was like, whoa, this is insane, right? This is so cool. I have to write. I think everybody to this day, I still think everybody has an identity or some kind of poem in them, right? Something that they can speak well to. And so the first poem I wrote was, again, about identity and the struggle of being black and white and having part of my identity never recognized because people don't think I'm black. And potentially I don't even act black, for whatever that means, better, worse, or however you want to take it. But so that was the first poem I wrote. And I've been writing, like I said, for 10 years off and on. And I've been really working on the challenge of getting a new piece out every week for a Fitness History Friday segment I've been doing on my Instagram, TriumFit Challenge, which is, again, I'm trying to find a way to combine my love of fitness and writing at the same time. And so it's been a way to highlight either a challenge, the origin story of the Spartan race or the origin story of the marathon, right? We've all heard of the the lore of these races. So initially it started with, as a way to promote, hey, I have these challenges, these things called the TriumFit challenge, right? And so I had a little plug at the end of the video. And so I was doing all these like histories and poetry about these events. And then I was like, well, maybe there's a way to make this more viral and sticky. And so then I started writing about specific athletes. And so now, in the hopes that they would again repost what I wrote about them. And so I've done about 40 episodes or chapters of this book that I'm creating, which should be actually a really cool project. I only got the idea to turn it into a book maybe like 10 episodes ago. I was like, what if I just record all these in a script and then I have a QR code that links to my YouTube video of me performing the poem with a video of me putting it all together. So I was like, that's kind of like an interactive book that could actually be really cool. And so I've been doing everything from kind of unknown fitness athletes like Surya Banale. She's a African French skater, figure skater, and she did backflips. Did you know that was possible? Did you know that somebody could do a backflip on the ice and survive?
No, I have not.
And she didn't win a gold medal. Like, it blew my mind. So, like, I would do this history about these different Olympians and athletes and people that maybe we don't have a good understanding of what they've done, but I think it's really incredible as a way to, again, promote their legacy and their achievements and try to inspire, like what you said. I'm trying to inspire people to think harder, think more deeply about what they can do in their own life and kind of see past the limitations, right? And so I'll do things from Kilian Jornet, who's done hundreds of ultra marathons, and like I said, Surya and Simone Biles and Jesse Owens. I just performed at Poetry After Dark this last Saturday, and I did the Jesse Owens and Simone Biles poem at that event. So that was really cool. And I've done Muhammad Ali. I've done this other guy, a lot of Russian wrestlers. What was his name? Alex Karelin. He went like 802 in his career. He was such a beat. Again, most people don't know this guy by name, but he was huge in the 90s. Obviously, the steroids were probably huge with that era, in Russia and America, everywhere. But yeah, this guy was a total beast. And so there's a lot of things I've learned by doing that. And that's been a really cool challenge. I want to turn it into a book. It'll be finished close to the end of the year. I'll be in Japan for 3 weeks, so I'll take a little bit of time off. But you have a YouTube channel that has all of those as a fitness history segment, and it's been interesting to get back into that world and kind of write and more and kind of just think again. Like, creative writing to me is just like a puzzle of how you could put certain words and make it sound good and all these things and perfect it over time. So it's been interesting to see that. It hasn't picked up at all, but it is what it is. I'm gonna still keep doing it every week and take it as far as I can.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, though, at least you're passionate about it. Because, like, that's the thing about going viral nowadays, like, for what? Like, no offense, it's like, yeah, you're getting popular on a platform. And I like platforms like Instagram and Threads and whatnot. At the end of the day, if you're trying to have random people like what you do, but there's no relationship, then it's like, it's just like saying, hey, cool. Then that's not a bad thing either. But I think it's just, you're looking for that deeper impact. Like, I want someone to look at this and be like, oh my God, it's the best. Like, hey, like, you put a lot of time and effort into this. I can see that, and you care. And that's what's cool. That someone actually took the time to. It almost seems like you're doing like historical research on a project. Because I think we lose that. We lose that curiosity once we finish school. We're like, I'm done learning. I'll just do what I do, go to work. You're not really learning new skills or learning about certain history. Even me, like, I try to look up like different words or different ways to enhance my vocabulary. And I'm like, why not? Why not try to learn something new? Because then you have the freedom to. But we get so tired of learning through school and education. It's like, I'm just done. It's like, well, now you've lost the fun behind learning.
I am torn by something you said. I fully agree that, like, you want to have an impact on somebody.
Right.
But I'm very torn about, like, does art necessitate an audience? Like, what is your thought on that? Like, if you make art, if you made this podcast and there's no views on this whole podcast, is it meaningless? Is it not meaningless, but like, is it worth less because it didn't get to any, like, no one took it in? Like, does art need somebody's ears to land on or eyes to land on to become a full expression of what it could be? Or can you just create into the void and nothing, it doesn't matter because by creating it, you've already sufficed the process of doing it. Like, what is your thought on that?
So let me answer this question with some of like a parable or a riddle. Right. When people talk about diamonds, and the process it takes to make them, they're searching for them, but they don't know when they're going to get it. And so the mentality I have is when people find this diamond, whether it be TriumFit, whether it be the Scholars of Success podcast, they're going to find it and be like, holy fucking shit, I've been looking for something like this. But the thing is, they have to go through all the other junk that's around them. And the reason why I picked that specifically is because people who create, whether it's poetry, whether it's podcasting, music, whatever, you have to be able to see the value in it first. And one of the first taglines I had when I had at this podcast was at the end of it, and I should get back into saying this more, is that if one person just listens to this podcast episode and they find some applicable win in their life, and they're saying, hey, like, I actually got something valuable because I listened to your podcast, I can walk away from the table happy.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, like, it's not, it'd be cool to get monetized and make money. But at the end of the day, like, I want to make this be a tool to impact people and give them resources and say, hey, you can start anything you want and it's going to be ugly at first.
Right.
But sticking with it is going to build your character more. And by sticking through it, you're going to be better off. And more doors are going to be opening because people see your consistency. Yeah. So that's my answer to that in a nutshell. It's like, I think it is immensely valuable. Again, how consistent are you? Just like the gym.
Yeah.
At first, when you look at yourself and you are at the very beginning of your journey and you see where you want to go, it's going to take a minute. And it's not going to take a week. But by doing the right work, by exercising, by resting, by eating healthier, by getting your cardio in, sleep, things like that, you're going to recognize these changes. And by doing so, you're going to be on track to where you want to go. So I think to answer that question, it's you have to see the beauty in the art before anyone else sees the beauty in it. Like, think about, with Leonardo da Vinci when he painted Mona Lisa.
Sure.
Think about, I think it was Picasso who made this Stone David. They were able to create it in their mind first before anyone started clapping for them. But because they did it, then it became world renowned. Oh my God. And it kind of sucks because we live in a world where, like, things get appreciated too late. For example, the moment when someone dies, all their stuff goes up 10x in value instead of appreciating them for the person they are in that moment. So I think it's enjoying the process. It's saying, like, hey, I'm creating. This is a beautiful thing. And, again, by all means, dude, you're good. You're killing it. Like, again, just keeping that consistency up and just not letting anything stop you. Because, again, the algorithm is going to algorithm. It's going to find ways to distract you or take you off your game. But as long as you stay consistent to who you are and your vision, and for me, it's aligning with God. It's like, if God really wants me to do this, then he's going to open all the doors for me. I just have to remain on the mic, consistent recording, and finding the right people who want to come along this journey with me. So
I love that answer.
I want to be respectful of your time. Let me ask you two questions.
You can go as long as you want.
Well, let's see. So what are your principles and values? If you see, like, growing up from your childhood until now, what were some of those guiding principles that, helped you become who you are today, brought you to the quote levels of success you have now, having the work balance you have, the mindset, even, like, we'll talk about the gains, what would you say are those?
Great. I mean, I would say I'm where I am now so much because of my parents. My parents were rock solid. Like, again, they worked in healthcare. So in terms of, like, the crazy ups and downs of, like, 2008, financial meltdown in the US and all these kind of things, people losing their homes and divorce and all these things, like, I was sheltered from all of that. I grew up in a friggin' vacation destination. You don't realize until you get older and you appreciate all the things. But the same house for all 30 years when I grew up, and parents having this loving marriage and always being able to provide and do all these kind of extracurriculars for us. So if I'm any kind of normal human now, it's because of my parents. 100%. My mom and dad were just rock solid parents, and I couldn't ask for a better team than them. Things that have helped me, like I said, wrestling, again, that was a big turning point because I learned so much mental toughness. My coach was an ex-Marine, right? And he just, for better or worse, he beat us up, every day with, like, go running the stairs and just hard practices. So you learn what it's like, because I think it's so interesting to see people, when they have absolute power, like if they become president, or if they, they have some kind of powerful position, like, what do they do with that power? Who are they?
Right.
And then seeing people when they are exhausted mentally, physically, if they've just been on a layover for 36 hours, traveling, how do they react? Who are they really? That's how you know who they are, right? When they have low sleep and all these kind of things, or after a really tough workout, how do they act and respond? And so I got to become intimate with that part of myself at a young age when I was in high school, because every wrestling practice would break you down to the absolute nothingness of like exhaustion. And then I'd go to hockey after that, and I'd do more training and all these things. I learned a lot of that discipline through wrestling on the wrestling mats. I have a tattoo on my back. It's a Lao Tzu quote. It's called, "He who conquers others is strong. He who conquers himself is mighty. And so I really love that. I got that when I was about 24. I don't have the quote on my back. I just have a piece of art that's a DNA strand, that's a chain, and it's breaking apart. It's holding a brain and a heart together. And again, it's that idea of self-mastery. That's ultimately what I'm trying to do, is conquer yourself. You're the hardest person to conquer because you're the easiest person to fool when you try to fool yourself, right?
Right.
You can always rationalize anything to get out of something, right? But to know when you've actually put your effort and all into one thing and really pursued it earnestly, I think is what makes the biggest difference. And so that's what I'm trying to do in my whole life, is to be on this continual growth and progression path towards learning what my tics are, how to overcome my vices, conquering myself, bringing other people and inspiring people along the way. And I think that's been a meaningful goal to me. Stoicism is a big goal, kind of life software that I've adopted since college, right? And so that idea of control the controllables, and you can't really complain about anything. I think if there's anything I try to do is not complain, because it's either you're complaining about something that you could change, and then why are you complaining? Just change the thing. Or you're complaining about something that's unchangeable, then why are you complaining? Because you cannot change it. So there's really no utility in complaining in the first place. It's either you change the thing or you can't, and why are you talking about it, right?
Right.
And so again, stoicism, my parents, wrestling, stoicism, and the conquering yourself quote from Lao Tzu, I think are like some of the 4 touch points about like how I'm able to stay so consistent today. And I use my Instagram, selfishly as a accountability, platform for myself. I don't even see my stories. Every morning I try to start the day with a random number generator from 1 to 365. We can talk about this more. You should do the little highlight, or something like that. Yeah.
On camera, we'll do it.
Yes. Okay. I call this the stochastic strength game. Stochasticity is the theory of randomness and just, particles colliding in randomness. So I try to turn this into a fun game, but my birthday is December 28th, 1991. 28 is the important number for that I've chosen randomly. It's basically a way to hold myself accountable. So there's 6 strength standards that I want to hold myself accountable to for the decade of my life that I'm in my 30s. I'm 33 now. And so those 6 standards is a 400-meter sprint time, so 1 lap around a track under 75 seconds, or a 5-minute mile pace. I want to be able to do a 2-plate bench, a 3-plate squat, and a 4-plate deadlift. I want to be able to do 15 continuous pull-ups, and I want to run a 5K in under 21 minutes. And I think I hit them all. That should have been all of them. And so those are like the strength standards that I want to maintain. And so I use this random number generator every morning. I roll it, and I see what that number is. If it's 28, that means that's my birthday number. So I have to then perform all of these strength standards that day. And if I don't maintain any of those strength standards, I have to donate $100 to charity, to givedirectly.org. And so that's a way for me to like maintain a certain level of fitness, because I think that's super important. There's a fitness influencer, Nick Bear, a BPN, he has a supplement company, that I think is really important. It's not just a slogan to me. It's something that, again, that I've tried to turn into a game. His motto, or the quote that I saw on his profile was, set the standard, hold the standard.
Hey.
And so what does that mean, right? Set the standard, hold the standard. And so to me, that means living with intention. I feel like in our culture, we have this, wayward attention span, obviously because of the things in our devices and all these things, that we kind of just get so wrapped up in life, and we just stop paying attention to things that are falling by the wayside, like our health and our mental health, our fitness, physical health. And the phenomenon of the dad bod, right? You have a family, you have kids, and then all of a sudden you go from a Division I athlete in college, and then you can't even walk down the block without breathing heavy, that kind of thing. And so it's like, what's happening there? It's like, you were an athlete back in the day. Why are you just... There's so many people in the military that are like, dude, I was just as fit as you were. Like, I'm like, what happened, bro? Like, why did you stop? Don't give me this excuse about surgeries. Look at David Goggins. He just ran 200 miles. He's had 3 heart surgeries and 5 knee replacements. Like, he's still doing ultra. Like, David Goggins is not, the pinnacle of someone to look up to necessarily. I'm just saying that the mind and the body can go a lot farther than you think. And so that idea of set the standard, hold the standard is something I'm trying to do every single day. And along with that game, because it's so rare to roll at 28, it's only going to happen one time in all of 2025. This could happen potentially. Whatever that number is, let's say it's today was 62. So that means I'm going to do 62 pull-ups today. And so if it's anything from 1 to 99, that's burpees or pull-ups. If it's 100 to 200, that's push-ups. 200 to 300 is going to be air squats, and then 300 to 365 is mountain climbers.
So are you doing that necessary number? So like, let's say you do roll 62. Does that mean you have to do 62 pull-ups in total?
Yep, that means I have to do 62 pull-ups by end of day.
Yep.
And if I don't do 62 pull-ups or burpees, if I don't have a pull-up bar, then I have to donate, again, $10 to charity. Okay. So this is a way that it's kind of a fun game. I made it a little extra because I'm so bad at waking up at 5 in the morning, or waking up early in general. And so I've been trying to wake up earlier because there's a group that I train with at 3 and they wake up and do workouts at 5:30 in the morning. And so I was like, I want to have a consistent sleep schedule. So I should just be waking up at 5 every day. And I've struggled my whole life with waking up early. I'm just not an early bird. The world is designed for, and it's so not fair. The world is designed for early birds. And I'm not one of those people. But my goal with the strength standards game is that I have to post on my story on Instagram my roll of the random number generator by 5:05 every morning, or else I donate $5 to givedirectly.org. So there's like a wake up component, and then there's a strength component, or whatever, a body weight fitness component. And if I don't, I have to donate to charities. I'm either getting stronger or people are benefiting from my lack of discipline.
You know, it's very funny because I'm the same way in that sense. Like I have to go to a very high extreme, you know, so like people do like the reward system, but then even people do like, you know, in the fitness world, cheat days.
Yeah.
Or like they get that one day off to eat, like whatever they want. But I was like, I heard someone say this, I found interesting. You shouldn't call it a cheat day because then it sounds kind of negative. Mm-hmm. I heard someone say you should call it a treat day. I'm like, I guess.
Sure.
But even still, like, I think the hardest part that I'm learning too is you can eat really well.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be going out to a restaurant. You know, you can still cook really delicious foods.
Right.
And so, again, finding the right way to incentivize yourself is so important because you have to know the person. Because some people, they're going to, like, the result you're doing is great, but if you apply that to someone else, they can be like, I can't fucking do that because maybe their income is not so much, right?
Right.
And so you have to find a way to be accountable to you. Maybe it's finding an accountability partner. Maybe it's just finding people or just finding a goal. Like you're saying, I just want to be able to do like 15 pull-ups, you know, because I'm the kind of person where I know I'm an overachiever. When I first started hitting the gym, I would be in the gym for like 4 or 5 hours. Yeah. And people are like, that's crazy. That's so much. And I'm like, yeah, but you have to understand though, I had to work out in my mind that I was really lazy shit when it came to hitting the gym. So that was my first intentional attempt of like, I need to work out and I need to make this a foundational habit for me. I've adjusted to so many different sleep schedules. So I understand it's like the morning time, like I have to sleep like 9 o'clock or like tire myself out by end of day, so I'm forcing myself to go to sleep. Otherwise you're stuck on the death scroll. You're just up down in bed. You're just like, oh my god, let's see what's going on.
Exactly. I have to turn my phone off at 9 p.m. Like my phone's on, I'm just gonna be on scrolling stuff. Like that's the other thing, man. It's so hard. And it's just like, I wake up at 5, and if I don't have a workout with the F3 guys, like, I'm like, what am I going to do at 5? Like, it's so easy to go back to sleep, you know? So, and I try not to be on my phone the first thing in the morning either, because that's not great. So it's like, it is really hard. I'm still like in this process of finding out like what my optimal whatever morning routine is going to be. I've done some Wim Hof breathing in the past and some stretching and stuff in the morning. I think I need to build that back in, but I'm really trying to find that consistency with my morning sleep wake up cycle and all that. But it has been hard. And I think, like you said, it's different with people with their diets and everything in terms of, like you said, cheat days or all that kind of stuff. I've done all different things with diets. I've done paleo, I've done intermittent fasting, all these kind of things. And I have a pretty high output in terms of like I work out a lot during the day. So, as long as I like my 80-20 rule, like again, like what's the 80% or 20% of effort that you can get put in to get 80% of the results out. It's called the Pareto principle. And what I tend to do now that I've kind of settled on is like Monday through Friday, clean, like just, no processed bullshit, no excess refined sugar. And then Saturday, Sunday, like just socially go out and do whatever you want to do, right? So again, that's so individual for everybody, and I don't always do that. But if I'm like pretty good about my diet 5 days a week and then the other 2 is kind of whatever, like, I have enough workouts throughout the week where like I'm still able to hit my goals and not be so like restrictive. Because you go down another whole path. It's just why I don't want to ever do bodybuilding, because it's like that dedication is insane because you're working out so hard and then you can never have a cheat meal. Like those guys go so hard on the diet for months, right?
I know a few of them, not in Washington, but like all over because of social media. And it's like, it really is a lifestyle. And for example, body dysmorphia is a real thing. Like you could be looking your best shape, but you still are looking like you feel like you're lacking. Like this is not enough. And so then we get into that like perfectionist. I think you touched on it earlier, but destination syndrome, where it's like, hey, I'll be happy until I get to X point, and then after that, then what? Then you start going down because there's no new goal. So I wanted to even answer that, but I think the real answer to that is to enjoy the journey, you know, and that I think that's what you're doing with all the different challenges. It's like, hey, as long as I'm pushing myself, I'm finding ways to impact the community and share what I'm doing, that's what matters. So I think that's, again, an incredible thing you're doing there. When it comes to just diet and eating, first off, I'm a lover of the Pareto principle. One of my favorites. At least you're going 5 steps forward and 2 steps back, so you're always gaining and you're not really, you're losing a little bit, but again, you're not training for anything.
It's sustainable.
You're not bodybuilding, you're not powerlifting, you're not competing for any major events. So yeah, like I think that's the hard part because, you know, my mind listens to a lot of motivational podcasts or clips, and then we don't put into context specifically when it comes to like fitness. You see these people at a super high level, but it's like, are you trying to be at that super high level? Are you going to be a David Goggins? Are you going to be, and no disrespect to any of them, are you going to be a Jocko? Are you going to be, you got to find out what works for you and your situation, how do you challenge yourself in your daily life? So, yeah, I think to wind things up a little bit, you know, I think when it comes to just, again, your story, I think it's super cool. There's definitely going to be a part 2. Sure, you're always welcome to come on the podcast anytime.
To the garage, brother.
Hey, that's what we call it, the garage talk.
Yeah, the garage talks. Trying to fit it, Mark. Yeah, let's go.
This last question. How do you see TriumFit, or how do you see yourself bridging the gap with who you are and what you're doing for the community, why you're doing what you do? Because when we're able to see a gap and we're solving a problem, like you're saying, like at first it doesn't seem like you're getting like the recognition or like it's getting noticed, but again, how do you see yourself bridging the gap with what you're doing with TriumFit?
Yeah, I think people post-COVID are actually very interested in getting back out in the real world, and I think there's hopefully going to be a shift towards that. You're seeing this explosion. Have you seen the explosion of run clubs out there? Like, it's just
I have not.
Everywhere now. There's run clubs. Every city has them. They're essentially the new dating app. Like, people like Gen Z are so down on dating apps right now, which I think is great. I think dating apps are pretty horrible.
A lot of your money too.
They take a lot of your money. So Gen Z is so anti-dating app. And so now there's this big push of these run clubs everywhere and people out and working hard together. And I think that's really a great thing. So the gap that TriumFit is hopefully trying to fill is, again, like, people have been so isolated for the last 4 or 5 years just by in their homes and scared of going outside. And I think we need to really go outside and touch grass again and do hard things. I think there's such a benefit to knowing what your limit is. And like I said, knowing who you are when you're under that type of physical stress, right?
Right.
And you never know unless you try. It's so trite that it's true. Every cliche is absolutely true for a reason. And so everyone looks at these TriumFit challenges that I do. They're like, oh, it's so hard, Tyler. Like, why is that so hard? Like, motherfucker, it's supposed to be hard. Like, to a certain extent, like, hard is relative, you know? Like, scale it down to what you need to, but, like, come out with me and just, like, come to the Stare event on September 13th. Like, I want to plug that at the end, too. But, like, come out and try these things, because you don't know how far you can go if you've never even tried it. You just look at this thing on paper and you say, that's too hard for me. I'm not going to do it. And it's like, I don't mess with those people. It's like, you need to meet me somewhere, you know? Just show up and then you'll see what you could do. But I can't help people that don't want to put that first step in. You know, I can only help people that are somewhat committed to this whole thing. And so I really think it's going to get bigger because people are going to really want to, again, I think physicality is part of our DNA. And we've come from a long lineage of people that have hunted and gathered for thousands of years and millennia of doing these hard things. And so that's deeply in our psyche and our mindset. And that's why we get such huge rewards for pushing ourselves, and why marathon participation and Spartan events, all these things are skyrocketing now. It's because we live such low effort lifestyles. We Uber Eats everything, and we sit for 9 hours a day on our computers. And it's like, well, that's not gonna, it's going to lead to this Wall-E future. And I think that there's a big faction of people that are trying to push back on that. And I think I'm trying to be part of that. Let's keep physical culture a thing, and let's go out and do hard things and, like, build community through this and see who you really are, you know, rock bottom when you're physically tired. And I think hopefully I could bring that to the world and do it in a way that, with the philanthropy aspect, because people buy entry tickets and I give, you know, 50% of the profits to these relevant organizations. And so I think that's just really important too. It's like, I don't feel as selfish when I train for a TriumFit challenge, because it's like, well, if I can get a higher participation in these events, I can give back to the world more. You know, that's the whole purpose of this thing. So It's not just me pursuing these things for my own gain, but to help promote these other organizations and charities that I do throughout the year. So I don't feel as selfish because I used to feel really bad. Like what you just said, you were in the gym for 4 hours. And that was me in 2023. I was like, is there something else I could be doing in my life than, lifting for 2 hours and running for 2 hours every day? Probably. And it turns out it's TriumFit, and it's really great. And so I think that now, I can train for a higher purpose, and it's purpose-driven fitness. That's what TriumFit is. And so it's just such an impactful thing that I've been able to do. And so I think I am bridging that gap, and I hope to continue doing that. It's just such a small thing at the moment, but I want to see it become synonymous with, the Murph workout, like from Memorial Day, across the world. All these CrossFit gyms will do, the Murph challenge, which is, pull-ups, push-ups, all these things for Michael P. Murphy, who passed away in 2005 in Afghanistan. So I really want TriumFit to be, synonymous with that kind of thing, or the TriumFit Champions League, which is a fitness accountability league that I do. I want that to be synonymous with, have you heard of 75 Hard ever?
No.
75 Hard. That's a, what's his name? Matt Frisella, I think is his name, but he's created this thing called 75 Hard, where people take progress pictures and they eat clean and they do workouts twice a day and all these things. And so you're kind of seeing that movement as well. So with the Champions League, I do these 90-day quarterly fitness goals. And again, part of the membership goes to support Give Directly. And I just try to do like that fitness accountability coaching because some people just need that to kind of get those started as well. And so those are kind of the two factions of what TriumFit is the charity challenge events, and then the fitness accountability, the Champions League, which is like a private Discord group and all that. So I want to see those two things bloom, and hopefully I could promote the Champions League, and those people can become affiliates and get other people to sign up for the charity events, and we can have this kind of thing organically grow. So that's what I would like to see, in 10 or so years. But I hope that's the bridge, I can cross one day and live out in the community and get everybody to kind of jump on board at some point.
For sure. And I will say what you're doing is awesome. So don't think that it is not valuable. To address that mindset, I think it's people who just are in the context of what you're saying, they are just afraid to try.
Yeah.
They're afraid to step out. And that was my initial, when I stepped into working out, I had to beat the shit out of that mindset, or else I'm not going to do hard things. Because the moment you start pushing a little resistance, let's say you like curl 20 pounds, you don't want to do 25 pounds because it would be quote unquote too hard. You gotta, my mindset has been progressive overload every single workout. I don't care if it's 5 pounds or 10 pounds.
Yeah.
Like there's some consistency and gain so that, again, I can do hard things. But it also, it starts right here first.
It does.
Because if you don't get this right, you can have as much weight as you want, but you're not going to fucking do it.
Yeah.
Right. So I remember so many times closing my eyes before I hit my next set, and I'm like, I can fucking lift this.
Yeah.
This doesn't get stronger. I fucking do.
Right,
And then you have to get that aggressive mentality, because it's like, do you want to stay out of shape or do you want to get in better shape? And it's as easy as that.
What's your vision? You have to like deeply see your future self, and like, what would future Marvin tell present Marvin to do right now?
Yeah.
Would you tell him to get that extra 30 minutes of sleep, or would you tell him to keep doom scrolling Instagram for the next 30 minutes, spending his cortisol right before, so like, think about your future self and what you would, retroactively do. Present self, I think, is a really important mindset shift. And I think that's really important, but it is a lot of fear. When I did the Ironman, the slogan is literally anything is possible. That is the Ironman slogan. And so I think doing something like that, again, breaks your frame of what's physically possible, and then you're more willing to tackle the next things. You're a really big car head and like everything cars. And so my buddy is a great mechanic, and I'm opposite with that. Like I barely, change my oil and that kind of stuff. And so he's done so much stuff to his car that his zone of comfort now is so deep, right? Like he could change his brakes and he could whatever. Like if something breaks on his truck, he'll fix it. My first thing is go to the mechanic, get it fixed, right? Because I've never progressively overloaded my ability to fix my own car. You know what I mean? So like if you like start doing these little things with your car every day, you learn a new part, and then you can start fixing more and more parts of it. Then like you could just change your transmission one day, and it's like I would just be baffled if someone, if I try to change my engine or whatever, right? Did anything hardcore. But when I have that same progressive overload, I've done that so much with fitness, like I'm like, can I do handstands again after 2 shoulder surgeries? fuck it, let's try. You know, like I had that mindset now of like anything is possible because I've done an Ironman. But unless you've, done, so like that progressive overload doesn't just apply for fitness. It applies for every aspect of your life. Like starting a new career path. Like, you gotta be pushing that comfort zone some way, somehow. Getting out and speaking to people, taking, public speaking class, speaking at a wedding. Like, just getting uncomfortable is really what it comes down to, whether it's in fitness, your financial health, your career, whatever it is, your relationships, having that hard conversation that you're avoiding with your spouse right now that could prevent a future blow up in a divorce. Like having those little things, that the consistency every day can prevent that. Like I said, divorce rate is 50% in the US, right? Because we're not having these conversations. And earlier, they're leading to arguments. And I can say this as a single, never married man. So like, I don't know anything about marriage, but I'm just going to say right now, but like, it is, see, I got the big horns. That's what I wanted. I wanted the horns.
That was not a hard moment.
Yeah, I can just speak from this pedestal that I have no experience with. But I'm just saying, like, there probably is that principle in every aspect of our life. Like, having that hard workout set is going to make you stronger in the future and prevent a lot of, let's call it like future surgeries and future issues down the line, and type 2 diabetes and heart disease, all these things, because you did the work early. You front loaded the work, right?
Right.
And the sad thing is it never gets easier, but you get stronger, brother. Like, that's what it is. Like, if I'm running intervals now and doing 800 meters or 400 meter repeats, like, it's always going to be 10 out of 10 RPE, and it's going to be hard every time. But the mile time's going to get a little faster, and my recovery is going to get a little better, and I'll be better on the jiu-jitsu mat next time. So the perception of hardness, sadly, is always going to be there. But you're going to get stronger, and you become a better person along that journey. So that's what really matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, I was listening to a church message today, and it was talking about how we interpret our experiences. Because if we find the right way to interpret our experiences, we can actually get I guess, a better result out of it. Because again, it's similar to perspective. Do you see the same situation happen to two different people, but they see two different perspectives?
Sure.
And so the question is, do you seek the perspective where you learn and gain something? Or do you seek the perspective where, no offense, you bitch and complain and you just sit in this cycle of negative? Because again, like you said earlier, and I agree with it, complaining sucks. So stop complaining. Like, it's a waste of energy.
I love complaining about the complainers. That's my favorite. Like, it's the most meta thing in the world to do.
What is it? Two opposing truths can be true. It's the fact that, first off, complaining, it's nothing but running your mouth and wasting energy. And that energy could have solved the problem by now. Okay, look, we can vent and come with a solution.
Yeah.
Just, no offense, bitch about it.
Right.
Because then you in turn become a...
Yes.
Right, there's the sensor there, so make it fun. But yeah, man, I would say this is a good time to wrap up, because again, we'll be talking for a very, very long time.
100%.
Again, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Drive
real quick.
Well, what?
Can I talk about the next event?
Oh yeah, please do. Yes, we don't forget about that. What are some ways we can keep in touch with you?
Okay.
Instagram, what events are coming up, and then boom, we'll wrap up.
Gotcha. Okay. My most active platform is Instagram. So it's TriumFit Challenge. So again, plan on TriumFit Fitness Challenge. So it's TriumFit_challenge on Instagram. At YouTube, it's just at TriumFit Challenge. That's where I have all my performance poetry and history of different athletes and challenges throughout there that I've been doing this whole year, turning that into a book. The poetry of human performance and human potential. And then the next event is going to be, what are we in September now? So it's going to be September 11th. Again, this is really meaningful. My father was a firefighter for 38 years for LA Fire Department. So to honor that and the fallen heroes of 9/11, over 343 firefighters, New York Fire Department lost their lives on 9/11. 71 law enforcement officers, military, and 8 paramedics lost their lives, along with 2,900 civilians. So to honor that, the 9-in-1 Tower Challenge Foundation. Again, this isn't unique to me. This is something that I've latched onto just because my dad's a firefighter, and something that is already in the ether. And so those are the two events. Again, the two events that I didn't create organically were the Memorial Day Murph and the 9-in-1 Tower Challenge. And so the next one, September 13th, is when I'm going to do it in Stadium High Stairs at noon. That's where I did it last year. My 73-year-old dad did this last year, so everybody should be able to do this challenge. It's not easy, but it is doable. And the challenge is climbing the equivalent of a twin tower. So 110 stories or 2,200 steps. And doing that, there's no time cap on it. There's no, You don't have to wear a ruck. I wore a weight vest or a ruck last year in honor of my father, who worked at primarily Station 71s in LA. So I had 71 pounds on my back for that challenge. It took me about 2 hours. So it was quite a long day. Bring extra water. But if you want to do it on a Stairmaster, that's the silver division, or do it at a structure, tower, or something with no weight at all, that would also be silver division. Gold division is doing it with, you know, a 71-pound rack like I did. But show up September 13th, Stadium High stairs. I have the key to get in, so we won't have to jump the gate or anything. And we're going to go out and get lunch or something after as well, because I want to add that social element to these challenges. And then for every entry ticket, again, like I said, I donate to, in this case, the 901 Tower Challenge Foundation, which is to help support the first responders, families that have lost their lives in the Twin Tower attacks in 9/11. So that's a super meaningful one to me. If you're available, come out, support it, repost it. If I post it on my Instagram, that'd be amazing, and it should be a good time.
Cool. Well, let me add this one more thing.
Sure.
Have you tried making a TikTok page and actually recording the workouts while you do it? Because I feel like if you were to do TikTok clips, I feel like TikTok, you can get more followers, more traction, more views faster. Because with Instagram, yes, you make the posts, and it's still silly because I, for a long time, was doing more stories as of recently, doing actual posts, and I found that my views went up because I posted versus stories. Because I think with stories, it's only a little snapshot versus a post. You can expand more.
Yeah.
And it stays on your page.
Yeah.
So people can see that. So there's a little bit of courage there, maybe trying to do post videos versus stories.
I do have, like, some people come, like John recorded the Juneteenth event, and so I do try to make videos of all the challenges that I do, and try to post those as, more like real Instagram reels and all that kind of stuff. And then I do ghost post on TikTok in the sense that I have, what's it called? Publer. It's like Metro Cool or whatever. Like, it's those social media management things. Yeah. Where, like, you log in one and then you could repost on multiple platforms. And so I've been, like, Sprout Social, if you've ever heard of that company as well. But I do ghost post on TikTok in the sense that I have a TikTok and I like cross post all my Instagram stuff to TikTok. I never log on and like check what's happening, but I do put my poetry on there as well. And then when people do show up and film it, like John does, he's going to be filming his next one too. I'll cut up some of those videos and put those on Instagram too. I used to make YouTube videos for all of these, but you have to like either film in the vertical or landscape mode or whatever. So it was tiresome to do double videos. So I'm just going to focus on Instagram at this point. But ultimately, if I did even shorter form content on TikTok, maybe it'll blow up. Again, I don't know. I could work. I mean, I could be on TikTok. No one at the Air National Guard is allowed to be on TikTok because it's a Chinese company and I work for the military, but I think I'm a civilian, so it shouldn't be a problem. But I did have a buddy that said, you might blow up on TikTok. And so I do like cross post there, but I don't take it too seriously at the moment, but that is still good advice.
Cool. Well, on that, thank you for talking to the Scholars of Success. Again, thank you, Ty. Shout out to our special guest.
He made it. He did the whole 2 hours with us. Yeah.
It's a little hot up there, though. Huh?
Yeah. He's my buddy. I love Ben. He's a good sprinter, too.
Again, thank you so much. We'll catch you later. See you.
Peace.